It's been 65 years of Nigeria's independence, and one sector that remains at the heart of our economic story is the micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs. They account for a significant share of our GDP and employ millions. Yet they continue to grapple with challenges such as limited access to finance, poor infrastructure, and regulatory bottlenecks. On Business Express today, we reflect on how MSMEs have fared since independence, and particularly under the current administration. How much support have they truly received, and what more is needed to unleash their full potential in driving job creation, innovation, and sustainable growth? To help us explore these issues, our guest is Temitola Johnson, Special Advisor to the President on Job Creation and MSMEs. It's a huge pleasure to have you in the studio, sir.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Great. Nigeria is a 65. What's your assessment of the current state of MSMEs in Nigeria?
Well, let me start by congratulating the country and congratulating MSMEs across the entire nation. First, I must say that we are on our way to where we ought to be. We might not be where we need to be. For instance, there are several factors responsible for the growth of businesses anywhere in the world, and Nigeria is not any different. There are factors that can hinder the progress of a small business. One of such factors, access to funding, access to reliable equipment, good training for the MSMEs themselves, and refreshers. Time to time you expect that business owners will organize refreshers for either themselves or their staff, so that you are in touch with modern techniques of doing businesses. What used to be, when I mean access to funding, what used to be, say for instance, if you had given an SME 500,000 sometime in the past to start a business, now that 500,000 might not be able to do much for that small business. Then when you talk of access to funding, the rates of those loans that go out to these small businesses, we are working on it to try and ensure that these are rates. We are trying to compete with the rest of the world. For instance, it's not convenient, it's not sustainable for any business to get a loan in the region of 25, 27, almost 30%. So it's like setting these people up to fail before they even start. So we are trying to put parameters in place to ensure that some of these things are corrected, and in the long run, we have an environment where businesses just thrive.
Yeah, you have had a front row seat in the current administration's effort to support MSMEs. Can you tell us some of the specific initiatives that have been implemented to address the challenges faced by MSMEs, such as limited access to finance and poor infrastructure?
One of the biggest initiatives continued from the President Buhari's government is that of the National MSME Clinics, which brings small businesses across the country to a place once every month with agencies that regulate that space, with the president having approved for the vice president to represent him in all those states. We speak to the SMEs and ask them what their issues are, because issues differ from state to state, from region to region for small businesses. So we speak to them to ask what their issues are. Some of them, it might be access to funding. Some of them is electricity. Some of them is training. So we go with all these agencies that can support them. Some of them is even access to this equipment. And because we have realized that access to funding in the right interest and equipment are the major issues. We have gone ahead to establish close to about 15, 16 different hubs They are called MSME shared hubs. This helps SMEs access the best quality equipment in the world to do their businesses, basically from day to day. And we provide that sort of support where you wake up in the morning, you go there about 9 o'clock in the morning, clock in. By 5, 6, you're done. But you have access. For instance, if you're a fashion designer, you have access to the best equipment to produce any sort of fashion you have in the world. We've done hubs, and each of these hubs creates, and in a year, is able to create close to 40,000 jobs, because the way it's done is that you clock in, you use it for about 8 hours. We monitor how many times in a week, you use this facility. So we're able to sort of watch the matrix and say, okay, if number of X use it today and number of X use it during the week, this is the average number of people that will use it in a year. That has helped in the sense that businesses and we also urge the governments, the state governments of those states to support the small businesses. For instance, what happened in Lagos and in Benue State, the government, after establishing those facilities, they started giving contracts to small businesses to go to those specific facilities to go and use them. They are supposed to go in elsewhere where they will pay a lot more to use those equipment.
Oh, that's great. But then, despite the significant contribution of the MSMEs to our GDP and employment, they continue to grapple with regulatory bottlenecks. What steps is the administration taking to streamline regulations and create a more enabling environment for MSMEs to thrive?
Yeah, that I must credit the Ministry of Trade and Investment for what they've been doing so far. Both the Minister of Investment, Trade and Investment, and the Minister of Industry have pushed this narrative of ensuring that most of the regulators do not kill these businesses before they even start. So, and from our own side, what we intend to do is, in the next few months, is to sort of have an end-to-end scheme that works for these businesses. This scheme is going to help in terms of access to funding. It's going to help in terms of provision training. It's going to help in terms of providing world-class equipment for them, all in one swoop. So we are going to have all these schemes that will train and create small businesses in every state. For instance, we are going to generate about 6,000 jobs in every state. How do you do that? You are going to have big anchors. For instance, we can send small people who are interested in media to, as an example, go to NTA to go and train for close to a year, and they are paid for that training for a year, because we've realized that when you send people to go and train for 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, it really does not add anything to them. So they will go and train in reputable institutions for like a year, and after that year, the government will go ahead and support them as well. Give them what is tangible to start their business. We will even provide funding for their first rent. Wherever it is that they want to start the business, we'll have a cap, as that may be. So I'm very careful not to announce the figures right now, because we're still working on those figures.
Okay. Well, how do you respond to critics who argue that the administration support for MSMEs has been inadequate, particularly in terms of access to finance and infrastructure development?
Yeah. What people ought to know is that when it comes to access to financing, you only have the likes of Bank of Industry, Nigerian Bank, and a few other developmental banks that the government can genuinely speak to and say, you know what, we'll provide you this fund. Can you augment it with your own fund and ensure that you do not give SMEs, that you ensure that SMEs have access to funding at 9-10%. Commercial banks, like the word says, they are commercial banks. They can only partner with you, but they are going to go ahead and provide those funds to them at their own interest rates. But what we have systematically come up with is what you call a de-risking fund. That de-risking fund, most state governments are going to be involved, and all the commercial banks. So all the state governments are going to have their own fund in the pool. A state government is going to drop between 1 to 2 billion, depending on what the state government wants to drop. Then our commercial bank partners, we are going to match whatever it is that the state has dropped and ensure that in that state, funds are not, access to funding and loans do not exceed 9-10%. Because if the SMEs fail, you can now rely on the state's fund to as an insurance for your money. Because the fear from the commercial banks is that they give money to these small businesses and they don't pay back. So they can't afford to give at 9-10%, who is going to pay them that money. But now state governments are saying, we are going to give you the money if they fail. Take from our money. So we just want to ensure that this is done and well done.
Now, many MSMEs are not aware of some programs and initiatives of the government. Others who are aware may not know how to key in. How can MSMEs key in?
Some of these things I've mentioned here today, the MSMEs are not fully aware because we have not launched. Whatever program from the presidency or from the government, once we are about to launch, once we have a final green light to launch, we ensure that we have a strong media institution that ensures that everybody is aware of what it is that we're doing. From the presidency, our major partner, a very important partner when it comes to media is the Minister of Information. There's no program that we do that is not aware of. In short, he's a member of every scheme that we do in the MSME sector because he controls more or less the media. So but the reason why this is not gone out yet is because we are trying to ensure that when it goes out, we are giving you all the facts as opposed to speculations. So we need to tidy up things with the president and everybody to ensure that we have the final approvals before going out with this.
Now, one of the social investment programs of government, that is the Conditional Cash Transfer Scheme, has disbursed about 330 billion naira to 8 million vulnerable households in Nigeria. How does this translate into real empowerment for small businesses and job creation?
So you must understand that we have vulnerable people all over the world. We have people that the government anywhere in the world will give funding to, just because they've gotten to a certain age or certain things have happened to them and they need this safety net, as it's called. And this was what the government thought of and said, listen, we have a lot of vulnerable and elderly people and those who will need this sort of funds, basically this sort of support on a monthly basis. And how will this help? This will help in the sense that when you have such vulnerable people, that you provide at least some funds to be able to take care of their basic needs. Basically, that also helps if I'm a business person and let's say there's somebody in my house that is vulnerable and the government is already helping me support that person. It means that some of the funds that I make, some of the profits from my own business, I can channel into maybe employing one more person as well. So everything is tied in. Everything it's a value chain.
Are there specific programs of government that focus on supporting youth empowerment?
Oh yes, there's a program that the ITF is running. It's called SUPER, that's Skill Up Artisans. And their target is to ensure that any youth who is interested, any youth who is interested, who is of age, and who has the capacity and ability, will be trained in any area of their choice, and after which they are provided with startup to sort of go into that business. They are encouraged to go into that business. So ITF is handling this, and I know the Ministry of Youth is also involved in it. We in the presidency are involved in it within some regards as well. We are also a partner in this scheme. But I know that the super is quite popular, and as we speak, the ITF DG is somewhere, as of 2 days ago, he said he was somewhere in Ondo State trying to train youths in that state, basically, and ensure that they also get from these super phones.
All right, the President's Independence Day message urged Nigerians to turn on the taps of productivity, innovation, and enterprise. What is your message to entrepreneurs, especially young Nigerians, in line with this call?
So my own message to entrepreneurs and young Nigerians in this call is to listen to the message the president has said. So my message is for MSMEs, entrepreneurs, and those in the IT space to take seriously the words of the president, and to also assure them that we that have been saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that we provide them the needed support to ensure that their businesses thrive. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to ensure that Nigerian small business owners get the best deal from both the regulators and the presidency and those in government. We'll continue to ensure, most importantly, that the environment is good enough for them to run businesses. They are confident running businesses in Nigeria. That's very critical. It's very important.
All right, Mr. Temitola Adekunle Johnson, Special Advisor to the President on Job Creation and MSMEs. It was an honor having you on Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Great. We now move to the currency market, where Naira exchanges at 1,455 Naira to a dollar in strongest rally since January 2025. Let's see the official exchange rate of the Naira against other major currencies.